Hey everybody, I am Kevin, and today we are going to look at a landscape project involving putting in this paver deck or patio deck. And I wasn't involved with the installation, and we're not going to be talking about how you put in a paver deck per se, but we are going to look at some of the different considerations you should take into account, maybe before, what's going to happen after we're done with that paver deck. Look at maybe different ways you could have put it lower, put it higher. And I think one of the main things I come across working with customers over the years is they're not really ready for how much damage can actually happen. Bringing in that heavy gravel that's got to go underneath the pavers and then the paver blocks themselves. This was obviously done by some type of a skid loader. And yeah, they rutted it up quite a bit. Took the homeowner by surprise. This is a video they sent to me. And so that's one of the things. If you hire a landscaper, make sure that they've got that factored into the bid, how they're going to deal with that damage. You could certainly use wheelbarrows, just going to take a lot more time. You could also put wood planking or something down, so tires then don't get all those ruts in there. But yeah, it makes quite a mess. You might also want to make sure, talk to the neighbor. If you're going through those narrow lanes in between houses, you could cause some damage for them as well. You want to make sure they're on board that you're going to fix it. All right, so now that we got to the backyard, that paver deck is installed. Yeah, nice. If you live close to landscape supply centers, you're going to have a lot of different options on the various paver decks that you can do. I love the look. And one of the things I highly recommend, go ahead and make sure you put in some type of curves. I think it makes all the difference in the world. I don't have anything against squares or rectangles, but I just think this adds a lot more interest in the whole package. You can see here, this is that paver base, my area, sometimes called class 5. And they came out the same elevation off that step. So they had to add quite a bit of gravel under there because it would have dropped off quickly. And a look from that angle, you can see how that just comes straight out here and how much gravel they had to do to lift that up. Your other option, you could go ahead and drop that down to a lower elevation. You're going to be using less gravel. You might actually have to take out some of the sod if you drop down a little bit lower, but you don't want to go under the grade. You might have a water trap problem. And there's just a look at it from the standing in the deck, but a nice pattern. My part of the project was I was just sharing some ideas on some different photos. So they emailed them over to me, maybe it was a text. And what I like to use is my iPad. You can mark up a photo. What I do recommend, if you're going to use an iPad, some type of tablet, do a copy of the original photo. That way you can do a design, maybe you want to try it, make it look a little bit different. Go back to your original photo, do another. You can always go back to the original photo or revert it, but this is just a lot easier to have multiple different looks. So you know what I had suggested, coming out a little bit, possibly leaving an entry point where the grass would connect up here. And that's something you could do too. You wouldn't have to necessarily surround this with anything. We're going to look at that in just a little bit. That's exactly what we did. You could bring the turf grass right up there. My suggestion though was anytime you're out in a social area, a sitting area, it's always nice to have some type of plant material. It provides extra screening and it just softens the whole area, makes the whole experience in your yard just a little bit better. And there's an angle from here. I'll point out too that that was left open. I think that was a good idea. And then the hedge is just going to be put in there. You could have brought those paver blocks all the way up, put some type of bench there. You could put some type of lattice under the deck also to screen there. So different options there, but this just opens the door for additional plant material. Here again is another angle where we put in some different curves, different ideas, and that's part of the battle, is just getting the ideas flowing, bouncing different suggestions off customers, off homeowners, and then you can kind of come to some kind of a consensus. You start coming together on what they like and what you can offer to help them in that regard. This is how it got finished up. This was a second landscape contractor then, so the original contractor was most likely just a hardscaper. All they did was paver decks, walls, rock and edging. Then you get into a full service type landscaper that may or may not do everything from start to finish, whether it be the hardscaping and the softscaping. So what they chose, these boulders, and I really like the look. I like the rustic look of boulders. They're easier to install, probably going to cost you less than putting in a prefab wall. And if you put in a wall, a retaining wall with prefabricated blocks, now you would have had to have brought that gravel or that base out even further. So the boulders are more forgiving. You kind of want to have them somewhat level on a horizon look from a distance, but you can also get away with some different soft slopes. They don't have to be completely level because the rocks aren't completely level. You'll notice in here too, we've got mulch, some various plants. The benefit for mulch is you can always be planting in and out, moving things, add things. And so it just opens you up to a little bit more of a gardening experience. Let's go ahead and let's walk you through the patio door coming out into the upper deck area, which even though that's a large deck, you can run out of room quickly if you're having social events. So this was a great idea to add another area down below. You get that separation of people, different people mingling, and now you don't have to have the lawn chairs out on the lawn, but you've got a nice level surface. These plants are mostly finished up. We're in the fall. When I say finished up, I mean a lot of the blooming plants are done. Carl Forester grass was kind of the centerpiece in there. And then as we go down here, one thing to keep in mind about some of the different perennials is if they flower, they can also bring in bees. This, I believe, is catmint, and it's going to do just that. It's going to bring in a lot of the different bees. So if that's something you're worried about, I would definitely hold off on that. But here we've got the mulch. Now you are going to have to eventually top dress this. Mulch can move around a little bit in the rain, heavy winds, so it's a little bit more maintenance. If you're more of a one and done person, yeah, go with rock. I probably would have done a combination where I had mulch and rock beds, and I might have even done a little bit more contouring up on that bed. If you notice there too, that bullet edging, they went all the way around that retaining wall, making it just a little bit easier to do the mowing in there. But yeah, it turned out great, this whole area. You could also, if you planned ahead, you could put a fire pit in the center with a gas line that would come in from below. And there's a look at the grass after it's all repaired. And I didn't mention before, but I think this was a great idea too, to bring that paver deck all the way over so you've got a place to do your grilling. Just some good thought went into that as well. And there's a look at that lane when we first started the video where the sod has all been repaired. And then one more look from the top. Yeah, and I hope I gave you some ideas and some of the different variations, some of the different things you can do if you're thinking about putting in a patio deck like this. Thanks for stopping by Garden Hike. I appreciate it. We'll see you again next video.